Good afternoon, folks. My name is Dan, and for the last year and 2 months, I have been working in the world of freelance, and specifically in the world of freelance digital marketing. Every month, I've been putting together a video just like this, explaining the highs, lows, and everything in between. And for this month, for July 2018, I wanted to talk about just one specific topic. The reason being is that this month has been a really good month. If you've been watching the vlogs and watched a couple of months ago, you'll know that there was a month, I think it was February, where the work wasn't coming in. I was a bit worried about what I was going to do. Everything then picked up, and actually I'm in the exact opposite problem this month, in that there has been work coming at me left, right and centre. Now, a lot of the work that I do comes from word of mouth recommendations or people that I already know, but because of all this extra work, and most of it's been coming through from my website, these are new people up and down the country who are totally new to me. In itself, that's a really good thing. It means I get to meet lots of new and interesting people from loads of different industries, and that's what I love about this job. But it means that these people are also completely new to me. I don't know whether they're good or bad, whether they're responsive, whether they're going to be really difficult. It's always a bit of a hard call. At the same time, with anyone in the world of freelance digital marketing, you'll know the wonderful world of invoicing. Now, invoicing is not a fun topic, especially for something like a vlog, but it is super important. If freelancers like us don't invoice, then we don't get paid. If we don't get paid, we can't eat. Now, what happened in July, and this is the thing that I wanted to talk about today, was that someone I've worked with, and this is going back 2 or 3 months, hadn't paid their bill. If someone's a little bit late in paying their bill, it's not the end of the world. I'll of course chase it up, see why in particular. They might not have paid it, they might have been on holiday, they might have been sick, there might be a very legitimate reason. But in this case, this particular client had gone way, way beyond in terms of what we'd originally agreed. Now, unfortunately, that meant July has been a bad month, simply for the fact that this is the first experience that I've had where a client hasn't paid. And that sucks. And it's one of those things that I went into freelance thinking, oh, it will never happen to me. Everyone I work with is normally so nice, they're ultra responsive. You never get to that point where someone would just disappear into the ether, you couldn't contact them, and suddenly they owe you a considerable sum of money. So if you're in a predicament where you have a client or a supplier which is late in paying your bills, then this is the process I went through, and hopefully it might give you a bit of guidance and a bit of help along the way of the things that I came across. Firstly, if you have a client or a supplier which is overdue in paying their bill, then you need to contact them. Whether it's by email or phone, you need to ideally get an answer out of them as to when you can expect payment. You're within every right to ask your payment, especially if you've agreed terms and conditions up front. But it's dependent on their answer. If they reply to you and say, yeah, we'll get it paid, don't worry, we'll sort it, great, wait for that point. Equally, if that date comes and goes and you still haven't received payment, then you need to escalate it. This is one of the things which I fell down on. I kept trying to contact the client again and again and again, and really didn't get a response. That just meant though that it went on longer than it really should have done, and left me feeling more frustrated, and just took considerable more time out of my day. Now, specifically if you are based in the UK, there is legislation which specifically covers late payments. Now, I will put a link in the box below which outlines the exact details of essentially what you can charge, but it falls into 2 categories. Number 1, you can automatically add a late payment fee. That is a fixed lump sum which is completely dependent on the amount that you originally invoiced for. The second area is the fact that you can charge interest on the late payment. Now, that's going to be dependent on how much you originally invoiced for and the length of time since the deadline originally passed of when you could have expected payment. That number isn't the easiest to work out, but basically there are calculators online, and again I'll stick a link in the box below for working that out. Now, that's what I did. I put a late payment fee on and charged a level of interest based on the correct calculations. I did warn them that this was going to happen a week before if I hadn't received the payment, so it wasn't completely out the blue. I updated the invoice, I attached that in an email, and clearly explained with links back to .gov.uk explaining exactly why I put this late payment fee on, and finished it off by saying, if I don't hear from you in the next 7 days, then I'm going to escalate this further. Now, what does I mean by escalating this further? Well, again, if you're based in the UK, you can take clients to small claims court. Again, dependent on the amount you're invoicing for, the amount you have to pay the small claims court to actually start the procedure varies. Again, there is information on .gov.uk about how much that actually costs. If it then proceeds to there, that essentially becomes a legal matter. And depending on what point that you go through, that can take a lot of time, but ultimately you have the law on your side, making sure that that client pays you money. Fortunately, that didn't have to happen for me. After the point of submitting an updated invoice with the late payment fee, suddenly they came back and I got paid very quickly. Now, it was a massive relief for me because I was getting so frustrated about it, so annoyed about it, and more annoyed at the fact that my time's really precious and I don't want to spend my time having to chase people when they should just be doing the things that they've agreed to do, like paying your bills for work. But at the same time, I was feeling a bit knocked off about the whole thing, so I did put a slightly ranty message on LinkedIn explaining how I just couldn't understand why anyone would treat someone else this way, particularly when it comes to business. One of the other things which I didn't realise even exists is that there are a lot of businesses and individuals out there who are essentially kind of bailiffs, in the sense that they will go out and they will actively try and get that money for you. They only get paid on the completion of that debt being paid, and they will take a small cut as to however much the outstanding invoice is. So on the face of it, it looks like that could potentially be an easier way, and it saves you the hassle. But again, it's very much dependent on who you're dealing with and how much it is you're owed. As I say, actually things worked out fairly easily for me. I've heard from a number of other freelancers just in putting this out on LinkedIn that there are people that have been waiting absolutely months. There are people who have given up not being able to get their money through. And there is a certain extent which I think you just have to write off and anticipate that that is going to happen in the near future. There are also a lot of discussions though about actually how to mitigate something like this. If I'm honest, I was a bit stupid in the fact that I accepted the job in the first place, in that I took on the project not knowing who the person was, and it was on a really tight turnaround, so I didn't ask for anything up front. One of the things which I've discussed with quite a few people about the best way to approach it is actually how to invoice in the future. Now, it's very dependent on who the client is, what the project is, how long it's going to take, and ultimately how much you're expecting to receive for doing the work. For me personally, the general rule of thumb is now, if I do not know that person or they haven't come with a recommendation from someone else I know, then I'm treating them very neutrally, in the sense I will hope for the best but also plan for the worst. That plan for the worst is ideally I will invoice 50% up front and the remaining 50% on completion. If it's bigger projects, then it's more a case of putting in a smaller deposit, having an invoice midway through, and then an invoice that is sent out once the work is all done. That also works particularly well because it means my time is guaranteed. Also, in saying that, a number of businesses also came back and recommended the fact that I should have proper sets of terms and conditions. And it's a hard one because as a freelancer, you are more accustomed to just doing odd jobs and projects sort of on with a quick level of responsiveness. But what's also happened is that I've gone from providing almost verbal quotes down the phone to people to email quotes to actually properly written up quotes, and I think the next step for them is that those quotes are going to turn into an advanced quote, which includes both an outline of the work and the pricing, but also the terms and conditions that I lay down as part of doing that job. And in an ideal world, I don't want to be that guy that lays down an absolutely heap of terms and conditions when a client just wants to work with me and I want to work with them. But at the end of the day, this is my income. This is what I need to do in order to be able to get paid. And essentially that is my livelihood that other people are potentially putting on the line. And for that reason and that reason alone, that is not something I'm willing to compromise. So I hope that helps. As I say, there's links in the box below, so definitely check them out. Other than that, we are on to August. We're also in the middle of the heat wave in the UK, so it's kind of a good month on both fronts. As always, if you guys have got any questions whatsoever about what freelance life is like, what digital marketing life is like, you're looking to get into the career or how to develop your career, then please do stick a comment in the box below and I will try my best to answer any questions that come along. If you want to see more about how my digital marketing business develops, then make sure you hit that subscribe button on the box below. And if you could, please give this a like, it really helps. I'll leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time in another video.